All right, welcome to this explainer. Let's just jump right into it. I want you to picture a scenario, and I guarantee almost every single one of us has been here. You studied so hard for an upcoming exam, and you feel completely 100% prepared. You go to sleep feeling confident. But then, you sit down, the test is right there in front of you, you look at the very first question, and nothing. Your mind goes completely blank. Everything you thought you knew has just vanished into thin air. Today, we're going to unpack exactly why that happens, and more importantly, how to fix it by moving from just kind of recognizing things to building real, lasting memory.
I mean, it's honestly one of the most frustrating experiences in the world, isn't it? You put in the time, you put in the effort, and the information still seems to just completely evaporate right after you learn it. You sit there asking yourself, why do we forget what we literally just studied? It feels like the ultimate betrayal by your own brain, right? And listen, if you're a focused learner dealing with this constantly, your frustration is totally valid.
Section 1. The Brain Science. Why forgetting isn't failure.
So, let me introduce you to the forgetting curve. This is actually a concept discovered way back in the 1880s by a psychologist named Hermann Ebbinghaus. The thing is, when you sit in a class and learn something completely new, your brain does not treat it as permanent right away. In fact, its default setting is to treat new material as temporary. It's a highly predictable pattern where, unless you actively return to that information, your memory of it just begins to fade. Think of it like your brain doing some biological housekeeping, just clearing out what it assumes you don't need anymore.
And look at how fast that housekeeping actually happens. At 0 hours, you learn the new info. You feel great. But within just 24 hours, that memory begins to fade quickly if you don't review it. And by 48 hours, significant memory loss has already occurred. This rapid disappearance is especially aggressive with certain types of information. Think about those classes with incredibly hard vocabulary, a super fast pace, or just tons of minute details. If you don't revisit that specific, dense material within this critical 24 to 48-hour window, your brain literally just lets it go.
So the crucial mindset shift we need to make is this. Forgetting is predictable. It is a biological default, and once you truly understand and accept that, something pretty amazing happens. Forgetting stops feeling like a personal failure, and it starts to feel like something you can actually plan for. I mean, if you know it's going to rain, you bring an umbrella, right? If you know your brain is going to delete information in 48 hours, you plan a way to intervene. It's that simple.
Section 2. The Illusion of Knowing. The Familiarity Trap. Okay, let's break down the core contrast that trips up so many of us, the difference between familiarity and memory. When you're just familiar with something, you're relying on low-effort recognition. The support is right there in front of you, like an open textbook or your notes, and your brain easily goes, oh yeah, I know this, I've seen this before. But true memory, that is high-effort recall. On a test, that external support is completely gone. You're being asked to pull the information out of thin air. So that's the difference between I've seen this and I can actively retrieve this. They are completely different mental tasks.
Let's make this real for a second. Think about your own most common study habits. Are you rereading notes, looking over slides, redoing practice problems, making flashcards, or are you quizzing yourself without looking? Be honest, because if you're relying heavily on passive habits, like just rereading your notes or looking over material, you aren't actually building memory. You're just building an illusion of familiarity. You're triggering that low-effort recognition and basically tricking your brain into feeling a false sense of security.
So I want to challenge you right now. Entirely drop the question, does this look familiar? The next time you sit down to study, I want you to replace it with this much harder but highly effective question. Can I bring this back without looking? Try it. Close the book. Minimize the window on your laptop. Can you explain the concept out loud to an empty room? Because if you can't, you don't actually remember it yet. You just recognize it.
Section 3. Building Real Memory. The Power of Retrieval. So, what exactly is retrieval? Well, it's the active process of trying to remember information without any support. And here is the real game changer of this entire explainer. That struggle, that mental effort where your brain has to work incredibly hard to pull something back out of the darkness, that is exactly what strengthens the memory. The harder your brain works to find the information, the more permanent that information becomes. The struggle isn't a sign that you're failing. The struggle is literally the process of learning happening in real time.
Okay, so let's look at how we build a realistic study plan around this. It's not about cramming everything in at once, and it's certainly not about trying to avoid forgetting entirely, because as we learned, that's literally impossible. Instead, it's a 3-step process. Step 1, you learn the new material. Step 2, You strategically come back to that information within that 24 to 48-hour window before it fades too far down the forgetting curve. And step 3, you practice bringing it back without looking. You practice retrieval. Simple as that.
And here is the absolute ultimate takeaway. When you do that, you are not just reviewing, you are building memory. By applying retrieval practice and actually respecting the forgetting curve, studying stops being this stressful guessing game. You aren't just crossing your fingers and hoping the information sticks for the test. You're actively physically wiring it into your brain. It makes succeeding a highly predictable process.
Wow, we've covered some powerful ground today, moving from the biology of why we forget, to exposing the familiarity trap, to understanding exactly how to build real memory through retrieval. So I want to leave you with this final provocative question. What is one study habit you might need to change right now, today, now that you understand the forgetting curve? Think honestly about your routines. It's time to stop just recognizing and start retrieving. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll see you next time as we continue to break down the science of how we learn.